Donald Trump's support among white working class has shrunk significantly. The latest New York Times Siena College poll, conducted between August 5th and August 9th, found that in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, more white voters without a college degree, a group that has typically favored Republicans, are backing Vice President Kamala Harris. According to the poll, Trump's lead among the demographic has been slashed by 13 points since May, when Biden was still the presumptive candidate for the Democratic Party. Holy shit, dude. That is pretty fucking significant. Like, I don't know what I was expecting when I clicked this article, but 13 points is fucking wild of a swing. In a New York Times Siena College poll conducted between April 28th and May 9th, Trump was 26 points ahead of Biden among white non-college educated voters when third-party candidates were included, with 52% to his opponent's 26%. Wow. Trump now only leads by 13 points among white non-college educated voters, 53% to 40%. When third-party candidates are included. The former president is also 13 points ahead of Harris in the demographic in a head-to-head matchup. The poll had a margin of error of plus or minus 4 percentage points. Donald Trump still leads, but look at that margin. It has shrunk significantly, nearly been sliced in half, Enton said on CNN. Those are the types of numbers that Kamala Harris needs to put up in order to win, Enton continued. He said Biden did not want to drop out of the race because he was worried that Kamala could not break in with white non-college educated voters, but it turns out she absolutely can. The new poll, which surveyed 1,973 likely voters, also showed that more white, non-college educated voters trusted the Democratic candidate on the economy than did previously, with 38% of the demographic saying Harris would do a better job than Trump on the economy. I mean, this is another one of those things where if people just voted on, like, statistics or fucking, I don't know, facts, things would be a lot better. For instance, economic performance is stronger when Democrats hold the White House. The economy performs much better during Democratic presidential administrations than during Republican ones. Unfortunately, Republicans win on vibes alone. They can just say, tax cuts, deregulation, we will literally put more money in your pocket through tax cuts, which is technically true. In the short term, is it ultimately good for the American public in the medium to long term? Of fucking course not. We have seen what neoliberal policies have done in terms of growing the wealth gap in the United States. These deregulations and tax cuts have somehow only made the rich richer and the poor poorer. Who'da fucking thunk? Since 1949, there has been a Democratic advantage in the average performance of key macroeconomic indicators measuring economic health, including GDP growth, job growth, unemployment rate, growth in inflation-adjusted wages, growth in market-based incomes per capita, inflation, and interest rates. This Democratic advantage is across the board in all variables we measure, but strongest in private sector outcomes, notably business investment, job growth, and the growth of market-based incomes. Household income growth adjusted for inflation was faster on average and far more equal during Democratic administrations, and the Democratic advantage shows up for every group. We suspect that the simple facts on economic performance during Democratic and Republican administrations aren't well known. Providing accurate economic information at a time of rampant misinformation supports an informed citizenry. All good shit, in my opinion. So yes, overall, economic performance is better with Democrats in office. Again, Republicans win on vibes because they can just say tax cuts, tax cuts, tax cuts, deregulation, and then more tax cuts, and just your little monkey brain thinks, oh, tax cuts equal more money in my pocket. That must mean objectively good in all possible scenarios, when it's a little bit more complicated than that. But unfortunately, people are fucking stupid, including me. But people are fucking stupid. But it looks like, according to this poll at least, people are starting to wake up that they should trust the Democratic candidate to handle the economy better than the Republican candidate. In May, 26% said Biden would do a better job. Again, people are fucking stupid. Trump fared better in both polls, though he lost 9 points. In the May poll, 69% of white non-college educated voters said that the Republican would do a better job on the economy. In August, 60% said he would. White non-college educated voters have historically voted Republican and were critical to Trump's victory in 2016 when he won the group by 64% to Hillary Clinton's 28%. However, in 2020, white non-college educated shifted slightly toward the Democrats, with 33% voting for Biden while 65% voted for Trump, the Pew Research Center found. So it looks like he won, Trump slightly increased his ratio in 2020, but Biden won more of the ones who, I don't know where the extra percentage went, voted third party or didn't vote. at all, or probably voted third party or something like that. While white working class voters still lean Republican, experts have said Harris's vice presidential nominee, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, could help her appeal to white working class rural voters, particularly in the blue wall states of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Absolutely. That's why I partially think this was a good pick. There were other picks that would have helped here, like Josh Shapiro. I'm really glad she didn't go with Josh Shapiro. But Tim Walz, being who he is, the way he talks, the way he acts, where he's from, I think does give a boost to her performance in these states, absolutely. Earlier this month, reporter Noah Berman wrote in the Los Angeles Times that Walz, a former teacher and football coach who served in the National Guard, is seen as a bridge to white working class voters who have abandoned the party for Trump. Meanwhile, back in reality, most of us have always known that tax cuts for billionaires and right-to-work laws are not beneficial to working people. I mean, back in reality, bro, I wish. I mean, if most people knew this, we would be fighting neoliberalism, not expanding it with each administration since Reagan, including the Democratic ones, frankly. Biden has been pretty pro-labor, but that's a pretty fucking low bar. The UAW literally came out and called Trump a scab. Trump doesn't give two shits about the working class. Yeah, I saw that. On that disastrous Twitter Spaces interview, he praised Musk for firing workers who go on strike. Yeah, Trump is going to be pro-labor, everybody. Trump is going to be pro-labor. Praising a union buster who fires workers who go on strike. He's your pro-labor savior. How are people this fucking deluded? I don't get it, dude. Walz was phenomenal in his last speech. He spoke about how the working class doesn't realize they're voting against their interests by voting for Trump, so we need to talk to them more, yeah? Goddamn, Walz was a home run of a pick. I still can't believe it. Absolutely. I'm still over the moon that the Dems made two huge decisions without fumbling. Yeah. Trump tried to prove he was union-friendly by visiting a non-union shop in Detroit and by recruiting random non-auto workers to hold up signs pretending they were auto workers or union workers who supported Trump. Jesus Christ, dude. It's sad that there was ever support from the working class in the first place. I don't know where this myth came from that the Republican Party is the party of the working class. It's because, again, they can win easily off of vibes. Look, most American voters are not particularly informed. They're not particularly good at disseminating information. They're not particularly media literate. So when you just say, I'm just going to give you tax cuts, you immediately think, well, that's more money in my pocket. That must be good for me. And that's where it starts and stops for a lot of people. It's just, he's going to give me tax cuts. I'm going to vote for him, not realizing or thinking it through that this is a much more complicated scenario than just blanket tax cuts are suddenly somehow going to make your life better. It's just not the case. I wish it would be that easy, but it's just not the case. Now, look, I do think middle class and lower class workers should pay significantly less tax burden so that they do have more money in their pockets, but that needs to be made up by taxing the ultra wealthy, taxing millionaires, taxing billionaires, creating an economic system where they can't just immediately pass off those, increases in taxes on raising prices and stuff like that. They should just pay their fair share and they'll still be millionaires and billionaires. That's what's so frustrating to me is we tax them. They still have more than they need to live comfortable, fulfilling lives, and everyone else's lives get better. They don't do anything but obstruct legislation that helps all Americans, including the working class. The entire point of the modern-day Republican Party is to rule poor and middle-class people under the control of billionaires. Yeah, I mean, that's just the entire point of, neoliberalism, which the Republican Party is a very neoliberal party, but the Democrats are also a neoliberal party. They're better, but they're far from perfect. And I'm hoping a true progressive ticket coming from someone like Walz could maybe move the needle toward actually regulating neoliberalism with the long-term goal of moving to a better economic system in general. But in the short term, just doing simple things like increase taxes on billionaires, raising the minimum wage, expanding social welfare benefits. All of these things that help cut poverty, give more money to lower and middle class people. These are the things the Democrats should be running on. And again, they have the facts, they have the statistics on their side, but those are fucking boring. And American voters don't have time for that shit. Wanted to nuke a hurricane? Check. Inquired on national television in front of his global base if injecting bleach would solve COVID? Check. Thinks global warming isn't so bad because of new beachfront properties that will be created because of it? Check. Ugh. Why do people support this piece of shit? He is just like the most undeserving of American middle class support of anyone you could have conjured in your fucking mind. Exactly. A literal cartoon villain down to his aesthetics. Like, this was him at that interview with Elon Musk on Twitter. He's got this like fucking weird ass Baroque ostentatious painting of him wearing, I don't know what you'd call this, very preppy clothing, where he's making himself look a lot more in shape than he actually is. But what the fuck is this dude? This is the hero of the white working class? Are you fucking kidding me? This tacky fucking weirdo with his all gold penthouse is the hero of the white working class? Are you fucking kidding me? Meanwhile, you have Tim Walz, who every day a new photo of him coming out looking like just a normal dude doing normal ass, like, you know, shit like this comes out. I don't know, man. With conservative voters, it genuinely feels like I'm in the fucking upside down. Like, it really is bizarre to me how they have latched onto this fucking weird, incredibly obvious con man as their savior. A lot of it is obviously just like racism, the mass deportation stuff, the lies about problems at the border or whatever. Again, a lot of it is just racism. I get it. But when it comes to like economic populism, I just don't see how they can look at this guy and think, yeah, man, he really understands our plight. He really cares about us. Doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Even his beloved poorly educated have woken up to the fact that he's a grifter rapist fuck. Some have, most haven't. Even after all this good news, roughly half the country still supports Trump. We need to keep this momentum going for the next 3 months. Yeah, that's what's also fucking frustrating to me, is like, despite all this momentum, despite all this good news or whatever, it's still a coin flip that this dumb fucking weird con man who's committed crimes, who can't do charities in New York because he committed fraud using his charities, like this out and about piece of shit. Again, adjudicated rapist. I am pointing out like aesthetic stuff. You want to talk policy, obviously from a progressive perspective or leftist perspective, his policies are also just terrible, abhorrent in every capacity. But I'm thinking in the mind of just the median American voter. What do they see in this guy? As the article points out, Trump had a 26-point lead in this demographic, and that has now shrunk to a 13-point lead, 53% to 40%, but that is still a large lead. The good news is that Trump is losing votes that he could not afford to lose, yeah? Laughing at striking workers like some cartoonish turn-of-the-century robber baron isn't good for optics, but a lot of racists will ignore that anyway, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hesitate to just say every Trump voter is a racist. I mean, you know, it's a partially true statement, but they don't think they're racist. Very few racists think they're racist. They don't realize that racism goes beyond just calling a black person the N-word to their face, which is what a lot of people think racism, that's all it is. That's where it starts and stops. But no, it goes well beyond that. When we say like Trump supporters are racist or conservatives are racist or Republicans are racist or whatever, it's the more deep-rooted, nefarious form of racism. It's literally making up lies about desperate people crossing the border who commit fewer crimes than US-born citizens per capita. It's making your dumb fuck boomer-ass supporters hold up signs that say mass deportation now at your rallies without even fucking thinking about it for half a second. Like, what do you mean mass deportation now, dude? You're gonna be sending the fucking Gestapo to knock on doors in certain states? You're gonna be demanding people show their papers if their fucking skin is 1% shade darker than like fucking this lady's? You're gonna be wrangling up people and shoving them into camps or something? What's the play here? How are you going to accomplish mass deportation now? That's the problem with conservative beliefs, man. they don't hold up to scrutiny at all.